Exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate y'all being here. We're live today on WYSL, so give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Shout out line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark, and our friends listening online too on the Free Solution Facebook page, the Free Solution YouTube channel, the Free Solution group, and the Kevin Wilson Facebook page and Twitter. Wherever you're listening today, appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate y'all being part of the show. Leave your comments if you're listening online. If you want to participate in the discussion, we'll talk about some Russia-Ukraine stuff. I know it's going to be a big issue. I'll leave. There's a bunch of good New York State news. I imagine. I get the feeling Larry's going to want to talk about it tomorrow, so I won't take up too much of that stuff because I know Larry wants to talk about some New York State. He seems to have an interest in New York State politics. I'll leave it to him. But we'll talk about that, and maybe we'll mention some of the New York State stuff and some of the other national stuff going on too. But I did want to discuss some of the other. So just it's topical. People are interested in it, right? And people are interested in the Russia-Ukraine stuff. And how specifically we, and by we I mean our government, plays a role in preventing conflict in this situation, right? Like how does the U.S. government do that? What is the U.S. government doing to respond to these things? Is it useful? Is it helpful? Does it make sense? So we'll go over some of those things because I realize we haven't gone really in depth in terms of talking about what sanctions are being put on Russia, on both like government institutions and individuals. And do they make sense? Again, are they useful? Because you see some stuff, right? Like I saw one earlier that was Netflix is going to no longer allow Russians to use their service. And I'm like, well, all right. I don't really see how that's helpful. I don't see how that really accomplishes anything at all to cut off Russian users from Netflix. I mean, if you want to ban Vladimir Putin's account, like, okay, sure, but like the average Russian, like you can't watch Netflix now. How is that helpful in any way whatsoever? And so when we think about sanctions, we think about the different sort of actions that the United States government, NATO, European Union can take. Each one has different costs and consequences, and that's most of what I want to talk about today. And are sanctions something that can effectively motivate the behavior of the leadership, the dictators now of their country to take action? And is it worth the cost of imposing things ranging from inconvenience, like the Netflix not being around, to actual suffering, which the collapse of the currency may cause? And does that distress caused by Western government action, again, move people to either, do whatever, pressure their government to change their actions or overthrow the government or whatever, or does it just build further resentment? And I don't know that I have a definitive answer to that, but just from things that I'm seeing around this, I want to complicate the picture for you. So let's talk about like what actual sanctions are there, though, right? Like, again, sanctions, like, they're, I think, better than getting engaged in an actual war. It is, but they can still be destructive in their own ways, right? We're not sending planes, not sending bombs, not sending soldiers. We're restricting economic activity, right? And in some of the ways that that's happening is, restricting the flow of certain goods. We talked about like whether or not there's going to be an oil sanction. There's building pressure in the United States to do that, and I want to talk about the impact that's going to have on us too, because that's definitely a big deal. Um, and and some of the restrictions that have taken place are from businesses being able to go and do business in Russia to engage with existing Russian entities, right? Like doing stuff with their central bank, doing stuff with, um, you know, uh, individuals who are known to be, what's called oligarchs, doing business with Vladimir Putin directly, selling weapons, things like that. All of that is restricted, and for a sanction to work, it's got to be enough countries restricting that sort of economic activity to put pressure on, again, the government to take some sort of action, right? Um, and so again, I think in some regard it makes sense. In other regards, like, okay, like we did this with Venezuela, we did this with Cuba. Cuba, we had the embargo. Uh, these countries ended up suffering a lot. The people of these countries ended up suffering a lot for these sanctions. You look at the history of Cuba and what an embargo did with them. Did it actually remove bad people from power? Then how long was Fidel Castro in power? He died, without being dragged out of his office, without dying in jail. Uh, was that effective? Is that the outcome that we wanted from that? Were we hoping that people would rise up? Or given the lack of resources, does it either engender loyalty to the regime, end up setting up people to become dependent on the government because they're the only ones who can get assets and goods and services in an area where it's scarce? Uh, does it engender uh, mistrust and even hatred of the country imposing the sanctions? I don't know. Again, I don't know that last one is fully the case. I've seen people make the argument. I don't know if the last one's fully the case, but it does make people suffer in the short term. What's going to happen in Russia, unfortunately, with some of the economic sanctions? I'm not saying do nothing, but with some of the economic sanctions, that people are going to end up going hungry. Uh, it's People aren't going to have with inflation going on over there, and I mean, we have our own inflation issues over here in the United States, but inflation going on over there too. We're probably going to see some folks who aren't going to be able to afford food. You're seeing some rationing over there. Uh, we're also going to be seeing major issues with wheat production, because apparently Russia and Ukraine are both some of the top wheat producers in the world. And what so kind of going down the list of like the stuff that actually happened to. So you got like the SWIFT sanctions, right? And that's kind of what made people made the value of the ruble go down, the Russia's currency. And basically all that does is it prevents, you know, currency exchanges from happening. So certain banks are kicked out of this system in which you're able to exchange, rubles for US dollars or euros or whatever, right? It's this way of processing for foreign currency transactions quickly, and they're no longer allowed to participate in that. So you're not able to like quickly exchange between, euros and rubles, or euros or yeah, rubles and dollars, things like that, or whatever countries are participating in the system. There are competing systems out there too, which will be interesting to see if it ends up with Russia and China and some other countries making a competing like currency exchange system, and if that matters enough to again get them out of this situation, right? Uh, we also see so that was a government action, right? There's a series of government actions with Swift. We also see private companies, right, deciding to no longer participate in those same types of currency exchanges. So Mastercard, Visa, I think yesterday, Amex, I think ended up happening either last night or today, also deciding that they're no longer going to um, allow Russian customers to operate. Again, this one's a step further. Like one, it's like a private companies doing this, and I think we can, and maybe in the next section we'll kind of talk about that, like how private companies are getting involved in this conflict in a way that is maybe not totally unique, but it's certainly interesting. Uh, and what that does is basically just prevents the Russian people from being able to use their cards kind of outside the country. Inside Russia, they can still use their cards because the banking system is still like kind of processing those internally, but it prevents them from being able to say, receive funds from, Etsy or, buy something with their credit card from an American vendor type of stuff. So that's all it ends up doing is ends up preventing that sort of activity, not fully preventing them from using the cards themselves. But when we come back, we'll kind of keep talking about those and whether or not these make sense. All right. Thanks again for joining us here on Free Solution. Give us a call if you want to participate in the show. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Oh, those injury attorney ads.
Hurt on your couch? Call 555-OUCH.
It's kind of cute watching that injury attorney buying breakfast for a crash test dummy, but while fun is fun, there's nothing amusing about getting your life back together after a personal injury or a motorcycle accident, or when you need defense for a DWI charge. Christopher Johnson takes your case seriously, and you'll feel like you're his only client because when you meet with him, your case gets 100% of his attention. So instead of cute singing jingles and magic phone numbers,
fall out of a tree? Call 33333.
write this number down and keep it with you. 585-415-3803. 415-3803. After all, Christopher Johnson knows you're no dummy. Get individual attention and integrity, experience, and expertise. Put the power of one on your legal team. 415-3803. Stay safe, be healthy, drive sober. Christopher Johnson Attorney, personal injury, car or motorcycle accidents, DWI defense.
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix. Every empty seat at a concert, a game, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We can give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Visit vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com, the official Mount Worstmore line of merchandise. Top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who's front and center up on that mountain, and we think you'll recognize the other three. Mount Worstmore items make perfect gifts. They're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Mount Worstmore, locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you all being here. Again, we're live at WYSL until 1 p.m., so give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And we're talking about the sanctions today. Again, whether or not they make sense. And I am going to hit two other things during the show, too. Not just the sanctions, the private company stuff, how that affects folks, the potential areas for escalation, and well, you'll get my opinion on that, and then also some solutions too. Like again, what are some good ways in which we can punish bad actors without making sure that innocent people aren't kind of caught up in that punishment, and again, what the trade-offs to doing that are, right? because I don't know that I fully accept that. Like I always get a bit uncomfortable with sanctions. I don't know if I fully accept that. Like the average Russian, again, I think of someone like me who's just trying to live their life, have their family, go to work, whatever. Should they be suffering because their government did something bad? I don't know that that makes sense. Maybe that's the best tool we have right now. Maybe that's a better tool than getting in an actual war. I think it is, but I don't know that it's optimal. Because again, as I was talking about before the break, you got like the MasterCard, Visa, Amex stuff, them cutting off, and a bunch of folks are happy about that. Like, okay, and again, that one, the banking cards still kind of work within the country. The SWIFT thing's kind of a bigger deal, especially if the value of their currency is going down, people are panicking in their country. They shut down the stock market for a while. I'm sorry, did we say we have a call on the line? Ted from Rochester. All right, Ted from Rochester's on the line. Ted.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
I just was curious, listening to your comments earlier about the oil, quote unquote, problem. I just, you get stymied after a while. Stunned, I guess, is the word. That someone who's supposed to be the leader of our country, with our country's interests at stake. Even I'm smart enough to know that somebody's robbing your house. You don't run to show them your secret safety deposit box. We have the capability in this country to be energy independent. Now, look, if I were in charge of invading some country, and some other country that was my enemy was sending me untold millions of dollars a day and still buying my oil, what's the sense in stopping? Yeah, it's just incredible. Somebody said, why doesn't the president, I'll refer to him as the president, he can change it with a stroke of a pen. And they're still, well, should we do this or should we not? They're dithering around. There's either two subjects that come to mind to maybe answer the question. Either he is enthralled so much to the Red Chinese and the Russians for some reason that goes way back to the time when he was over in Ukraine for our beloved previous president. And he essentially, well, we don't want to use the word scam, but his kid makes untold millions of dollars, and his kid gives part of that to the big guy. And I just, you hate to think that he's doing this deliberately. Eisenhower's beware of the military-industrial complex. But after a while, you go down the checkoff list of options, and if the only one left is the president can change this with a stroke of a pen, and he does not do it, well, what conclusion can you draw other than that it's deliberate?
So here's my thought. I want to hear what you think about this, because I think it's actually short-term political thinking. Like that's what I think it is, because Joe Biden and a lot of other Democrats are looking at this as, if they impose sanctions on oil specifically, we will all see gas prices rise even more. They're already going way, way up, right? The oil markets are a mess right now, but we'll probably see gas prices go up a lot more. My thought, and this is still possibly selfish of them, but I want to keep in mind that American families are going to suffer from higher gas prices too. But my thought is they want to avoid that because they're concerned about midterm elections. I don't know that for sure, but I see politicians engage in that sort of short-term thinking all the time, where they say, well, the cost of doing this to my political career is so high, even if it's the right thing to do, so I don't want to do that action. What do you think about that, Ted?
Well, it's strange. Even the Democrats are starting to say, hey, start the spigot running in America so we can get some of our own oil and stop sending our treasure over to this clown who's invading Ukraine. And he's being subsidized by the United States. It's unbelievable. Even if we
could step
have
up
higher gas prices for a while, so what?
Yeah.
At least it puts the hurt on Russia and him.
Yeah.
It's almost borders on sedition and treason when he doesn't do stuff like that. And he won't do it, and he's not doing it. And the evidence is clear, and every day it's more clear and more clear that the obvious thing to do is to shut off Putin's money coming from the United States and let him stew in his own juice over there. Let the ruble, it's less than a penny, subsidize his armament.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, and I'm starting to think the worst of the worst, Biden's not doing it. And there's only one conclusion I think that you can draw from that. So I just want to pass it on to you. Take care.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Ted. Appreciate the call. And again, I totally understand that speculation, right? Like I get it. Like it's tough to wrap your head around this, but I think that there is a consideration to be had on the oil sanctions front is, what does that do to the American people, right? Now, can we step up oil and gas production in the United States? Absolutely. Again, is Biden being short-term in his thinking about climate goals? We don't want to reverse the progress that we've made on this stuff, and that's what my base cares about. Is he worried about voters being upset with him and Democrats about rising gas prices? If gas prices are $10 a gallon by November when it's voting time, are they going to punish Democrats for that? Or maybe it's something more nefarious, but I don't know that. I would hope not. I think that Biden is a political animal who's going to go where the political winds go. And I'm a bit cynical about this stuff in terms of how a lot of political operatives work. I think it's more likely to be that, but I'm not ruling out some of the other stuff either. I don't know. I don't think it's a treason thing though. I maybe, but I think it's mostly just short-term political thinking. And if he did want to be a leader in that sense, you could say like, hey, look, if we want to prevent this war from going further, if we want to stop funding this war machine, like the way that we step up isn't by going to war in this place. It's by paying more for gas in the short term while we get domestic production back up and make sure that the world can continue to be supplied with oil and gas to continue to have the economy run. That's what might have to happen, right? So is there political leadership in the United States who's going to say like, that's the tough move that we need to make right now, and we want to make sure that you're prepared for that to happen. Prepare yourselves, and we're going to make sure that oil and gas production can start to catch up. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's what I think people probably need to hear. But I wouldn't expect political leadership in this particular moment to have the guts to do that, because I think back to, I know I'm gonna get roasted for this. Jimmy Carter said stuff like this too, and people roasted him. They said, "No, we don't make the sacrifice for this. We should be finding a solution to it." But if that solution means a short-term hurt, I think voters will hold them accountable for that pain. That's real. It's not trivial to say that if the cost of you driving to work suddenly quadruples in the next few months, that's a big deal. That's food for some families. So I don't think that we should take sanctions on oil and gas lightly, because the United States buys so much gas from Russia. It's 7% is a big deal. That's a lot of stuff. So and again, I see that as this is something like, it doesn't affect me that much. I don't drive to work. I work from home. But a lot of families listening today, I know you guys, some of you have to drive 40 minutes to work. What's that going to do to you? And so I would hope politicians consider that, find a way around that, and find a way to make sure that we, the people, are prepared, and that there's a way for us to continue being able to afford keeping our homes heated, being able to afford keeping food on the table with rising prices going up all around us, because it's not just gas, it's everything else. We have a, you hate to say it, we have an inflation problem that's happening right now. Lots of costs of goods are going to go up. It's not just caused by this conflict, but this conflict is going to exacerbate the pressure of this inflation on a handful of things: oil and gas, wheat, some other like agricultural products. It's going to be a huge deal. And unfortunately, we may be in for some tough times. And I do want to Well, I'm out of time, actually. So when we come back, I'll talk about some of the other ways in which companies are getting involved in this, some escalation and some solutions. Thanks again for joining us here on The Free Solution. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Give us a call if you want to participate. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Talk to you in a few.
Celebrating 35 years.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll have mostly cloudy skies. There will be a couple of snow showers out there, blustery and colder in the upper 20s. Maybe a little coating, an inch of snow, especially towards Wayne County. On Tuesday, a couple of morning snow showers and sun and clouds, brisk and cold in the 30s. Wednesday will be mostly cloudy. Could be a shower by the rain or wet snow with temps in the 30s and 40s. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
Warmer days are on the way. Better see Victor Chevrolet to get ready for spring and summer adventures. Get selection and savings. Lease a 2022 Chevy Trailblazer LS for just $299 a month for 39 months. If you need a pickup, load up a 2022 Chevy Silverado for just $369 a month for 39 months. These lease deals include returning lessee rebates. All factory rebates, incentives, and discounts are applied. Security deposit is waived. 10,000 mile allowance per year, 25 cents each additional mile. Must have lease and household. Tier 1 credit approval required. Lessee responsible for repair and maintenance. Conditions apply. Get details at dealer. Now, if you're looking for a quality used vehicle, Victor Chevrolet has a selection that can't be beat anywhere in the region. And be sure to trust your vehicle to our Chevy Certified Service Department. Victor has special savings and rebates on tires, shocks, and struts, brake pads, and rotors, too. Come see how easy it is to do business with us. Find new roads at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor. Visit victorchevrolet.com.
In January, Planned Parenthood of Western and Central New York abandoned their expansion project in the Rochester suburb of Brighton under pressure from a grassroots coalition of residents who sued the town for their lack of meaningful review in the approval process. The lawsuit stated the Brighton Town Planning Board failed to explore the negative impacts an abortion facility inflicts on a neighborhood. These concerns include the question of waste disposal, referring to the aborted babies, Planned Parenthood's increased use of in-home chemical abortions and its related impact on clean water, as well as the concerns over lewd public displays common to abortion facilities in the vicinities of parks and schools. Brighton resident Carol Crost remarked, "We will not lower ourselves to the standards of Planned Parenthood." This RealAbortionNews.com update is sponsored by Compass Care.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
All-Star Custom Apparel and Design is your local source for screen print, embroidery, vinyl transfer, online storefronts, logo designs, decaling your vehicles, and promotional items. Stop in and see us at 45 High Tech Drive in Rush. Check out our Facebook page or visit our website, allstarcustomapparelanddesign.com. All-Star will get your name recognized with customer service that is second to none. Call 585-623-4000 to see what All-Star can do for you.
Did you know that half of the population avoids regular dental visits because of fear? Sedation dentistry provided by a visiting anesthesiologist at Lakeview Dental allows you to relax and safely correct years of complex dental problems. Remember that dental health affects whole body wellness, not just teeth. At Lakeview Dental, they understand your fears. Visit LavoniaSmiles.com or call 346-3028. Lakeview Dental, for the smile of a healthier you.
Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery has a great deal on Tuesdays. A large 4-topping pizza for $18, regular or gluten-free. Call 226-9575. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery in Avon.
The U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor, Canadian Snowbirds Jet Demo Team, P-51 Mustangs, and more at the Geneseo Air Show, first weekend in June 2022. For details or for tickets, visit NationalWarplaneMuseum.com.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Niels here today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're live here on WYSL. Give us a call if you want to participate in the show, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Shout out online to our friends listening over at WACK out in New York and our friends listening online at A Free Solution Facebook page, A Free Solution YouTube channel, Free Solution group, and the Kevin Wilson page and Twitter, wherever you're listening today. Thank you. Appreciate you all being here. Thank you for joining me for today's show. And make sure you leave your comments or give us a call if you want to participate. So, again, going back to the sanction things, what's happening again? It's fascinating to see private companies jump into this, not just state actors, right? You know, and is that the right thing to do? Are they canceling Russia, right? You know, MasterCard, Visa, Amex, Google Pay, and Apple Pay jumping out and not. So from what I understand, like not working in those countries, kind of a big deal too. And I don't know if that's a payment processing issue because of like their currency exchange partners or something else. But that it is alarming, you know, because imagine, like, I mean, I've become pretty dependent on this type of stuff, right? You know, I'll use Google Pay for a ton of stuff. I use my cards for everything. I don't use cash that much. But if I had to go back to a world where I had to use cash for absolutely everything for my payment processing, whatever, that'd be tough to deal with. That it would interfere with my life in a significant way. And me sitting here in Rochester, New York, if my government were doing something wrong that caused all these companies or, you know, international communities to do this, what would I here have the power to do to be able to change that? I'd just be sitting here mad, not being able to watch my Netflix or pay for my stuff. And so that's again, part of that is why I'm a little bit skeptical that sanctions are the best, most effective method of impacting change in these areas, because although you have these individual sanctions on Putin, the oligarchs and others, like I don't like that it hurts the individual people. And again, maybe it does affect change. We'll see. But in a lot of other areas, it hasn't had a good track record. I heard sanctions referred to on another podcast as like the virtue signaling of like international diplomacy. It has an impact, but not necessarily in the places that you want it to. I mean, sanctions on oil certainly would. Sanctions on like those key industries, you know, weapons, oil, that would certainly continue to have a big impact. The other stuff, not so much. And you know, I do want to talk about some of the other ways that we could escalate this too. Again, I think sanctions are better than the alternative. There's possibilities of escalating with NATO countries, places like Poland, giving up their jets, the whatever they're called, like the old Russian version of MiGs, to Ukraine, which the pilots over there are trained on that, so they can continue to contest the airspace over there. In exchange for that, the U.S. NATO would give F-22s to Poland. But that's a pretty big escalation. That's a pretty big step in the direction of getting directly involved in the conflict. And it sounds like we have a caller on the line too, Keith from Rochester. Keith, what's up, Keith?
Yes, sir. You've been talking about whole countries and companies coming up with sanctions against Russia. I want to take us all back to the Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 38, when American volunteers came together and formed the Abraham Lincoln Brigade, and actually themselves physically went over to Spain and fought on the side of the Royalists, who were also known as the Republicans, meaning they were fighting for the government of Spain, the royal family versus Franco's fascists. And you and I are a difference in age. I'm 66, and I know you're much younger. So I'm asking it even in the terms of age. Do you think we would ever have, going to Ukraine, an Abraham Lincoln Brigade of Americans who would really give of themselves, not just talking esoterically in terms of up in the air sanctions, but even for me to say it, even giving their physical bodies, making that supreme sacrifice? On the radio over the weekend, a man from the country of Georgia was interviewed, and his country some years back was invaded by Russia, again led by Putin. So this Georgian, again from the country of Georgia, knows what it means to have this particular enemy, the Russians, invade his home country, and he was going in a volunteer manner to place his body in line of fire to help the Ukrainian people. And I guess I'm asking in closing whether Americans would get up a modern day Abraham Lincoln Brigade. I think, because I've seen over the years different numbers of what constituted the brigade, and they took heavy casualties. It was at least 3,000 Americans who were in that brigade, and depending on the battle they were in Spain during that 3-year civil war, they took heavy casualties. I was just wondering if you think modern day Americans, to phrase it that way, would actually place their bodies on the line to help a people in an area, Eastern Europe, that many Americans just have really no knowledge of, and whether just the difference in generations pointedly would put out of mind and reach the very thought of an Abraham Lincoln Brigade physically going over. Again, that would be American volunteers in that brigade going to help Ukrainians in the same way.
Yeah.
That in 1936 they helped.
Let me respond to this a little bit, right? So yeah. So to answer your question, people can do that, and in fact they are, right? So I did look up too some of the history of this. During the Civil War, there's 3,000 Americans who joined. It's called the Lincoln Washington Battalion to go and fight against the fascist forces over there, against the Franco folks. And you can, if you're an American, you can go to a Ukrainian embassy and volunteer to join their foreign legion. And there are apparently many veterans doing so. They've gotten 16,000 volunteers from around the world to do this. A lot of them are from Europe. A lot of them are from places like Czech and Poland, who are worried about their countries being next. They're not, these countries aren't stopping that. But yeah, there are volunteers from all over the world going to actually go and fight in these battles and fight against the invading Russian army in Ukraine right now. So it is happening to address that question.
Glad in closing, I thought maybe just in true modernity, people were not like that anymore. That certainly in the Depression era of 1936, when the Spanish Civil War began, that just Americans facing that dilemma of the Great Depression in that decade of the 30s, that they would be more of a mind to travel to a foreign country and help the people there. So in closing, I'm glad that that's taking place. And I don't know, I don't want to be false to anyone, just where I am in my life. Gosh darn, I wish I could go over, and I don't know how that would happen. Maybe I would look into it, but you gave a number of 16K, and that's very good. And so I'm glad that a modern day, to say it, Abraham Lincoln Brigades are forming. And it's certainly like that man from Georgia. You mentioned the Polish and the other people who've been under Soviet dominance. They fear the return of that, and they know what's on the line. And I would just ask my fellow Americans to keep them in mind and pray for them, that Putin means business, and we've got to pull out all the stops to exactly that, stop him. And so if people are going over there, placing their bodies in harm's way, I would consider that a good thing.
Yeah, no, again, I appreciate the phone call, Keith. Thank you. And it brought up a very interesting topic. And again, there are folks who are out doing that right now. Veterans who, see what's going on over there. They want to be able to help, and they have the skill set to be able to be of use over there and to make a difference in that country. And so they're, again, as Keith said, putting their body on the line to go and make an impact on that conflict. Again, it's going to be interesting because that's not an official thing of the U.S. government. We aren't the U.S. government is stopping folks, but there's certainly going to be at least a handful of Americans over there fighting. And both in terms of that and in terms of folks volunteering too. Again, I know a guy who's I'm friends with on Facebook who's a doctor and is going to go and help people over there and be right in the country trying to provide medical support where necessary. And he's a dude, he's gone down to Venezuela and help refugees coming out of there too. So there are folks who they're not just sitting on Twitter. I mean, she's like me, sitting on Twitter, sitting on a radio, and they're going in and putting their money where their mouth is and physically making a difference wherever they can using the skills that they have. And yeah, I mean, hats off to you. That's incredibly brave, and I'm glad you're able to help folks wherever you can. And we are running out of time for this segment, but when we come back, I do want to make sure I talk about some of the solutions that we can have. And if we're talking about this, there's the volunteer solution. That's one thing, and then the other one is, how can we free up information, free up currency, and get around totalitarians? All right, thanks again for joining us. Free Solution. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Dear Dr. Sussman.
Dear Dr. Sussman, I just wanted to write to all the wonderful people who work with Dr. Sussman and Dr. Pogel at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Each person in the office made me feel my smile.
Not only am I completely happy with my smile, but I feel you've been there for me with all my dentistry.
I've had several dentists in my life, but never a dentist of your caliber. You have state-of-the-art.
You keep current in your field as evidenced by your numerous diplomas and certificates, and your entire staff is really the queen
I'm
of the
thrilled with the outcome of your skills and artistry. It's made such a difference in my life.
Dr. Sussman, Dr. Pogel, and the entire staff at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry take great pride in providing not only advanced dental care, but extraordinary cosmetic dentistry. They love what they do and have a partnership with their patients toward long-term dental health.
For a bright, confident, beautiful smile.
Thank you, Dr. Sussman.
Thank you, Dr. Pogel.
Thank you.
Change your life, change your smile.
For more information, call the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry at 22 Smile or visit 22-smile.com.
WYSL. The WYSL store is now open, and your car's crying for an official Voice of Liberty bumper sticker. There's a great selection to help you show your love of God, liberty, and the Constitution. Here are just a few available right now. Shut up, Fauci. Kathy Hokum. No more masking. Open the freaking schools. Scam alert January 6th. No vax mandates. God, please help us. Close the Mexican border. Save America. Stop voting for Democrats. Support the Second Amendment And your mask doesn't protect squat. But there's more. These are standard weather-resistant bumper stickers guaranteed to get you horn honks and thumbs up in traffic. Choose from other locally made WISL Voice of Liberty merch too, like tees, hoodies, drinkware, and more. Perfect gifts for any Liberty lover you know. Be sure to check out the exclusive WISL Mount Worstmore shirts, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting our 4 worst presidents. Guess who's front and center? Be free, make a statement. Shop the WISL store at WISL1040.com.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thanks again for joining us. Again, we're live on WISL. Give us a call, like our friend, two folks who called in today. Appreciate y'all. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And, I want to talk about some of the solutions to this. And it's interesting. Again, sanctions, I got mixed feelings on them, right? And I generally don't like any restrictions to trade and interaction with the international community. I don't like it on the American side either. Sorry, I'm a big opponent of tariffs and tax, and other taxes that make it more difficult for us to trade with other countries. I think when we can communicate with each other, generally, that creates a better world where we're able to easily talk with the average people in some of these countries. And so some of these solutions are, okay, how does the average Russian, average person, communicate and exchange outside of their government's permission and outside of anyone's permission, right? And is that a good thing? Are there drawbacks to that? Sure, of course there are. But right, you have, all this mess going on with their currency. And at the same time, you also have crypto exchanges who are staying active in the country. Now they're saying, if it's a bank trying to do, massive currency exchanges, like all those sanctions, like the big financial houses, all that stuff, like they're still not able to do that with most of these currency exchanges, like the Coinbase and KuCoin and whatever the other ones is. So they're not able to do that. But the average person being able to use cryptocurrency and shifting away from that, I think it's a good thing. All right, it sounds like we have another call on the line too. George from Irondequoit. George, what's on your mind?
How are you? My real name is Yuri. I was born in Belarus. I served in the United States, in Vietnam, in the United States Army. Now, I'm looking at all what's going on. Now, my father was, but Stalin put him in prison because he wanted his wife. And Putin is doing the same thing. He wanted the United States. So he's selling stuff to Biden and his son so he can have in the United States. And that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta be careful, man. Can't do that stuff. But yeah, I imagine if you are from that area, you're from that area of the world, either Ukraine, Russia, you've seen what those governments have done to your family. You want to do whatever you can to, if you're living there now, you want to do whatever you can when you see those patterns reemerging again. You remember. Did we lose our caller? Yeah.
I see the whole thing happening again. Exactly what happened before, but what I went through as a young man.
Yeah.
And like I said, when Germans attacked our area, took us for a free ride. That's how we got out of Russia.
Wow.
And Americans then saved us and everything else like this. But I came to the United States in 1952, and in 61 to 63, I was in the United States Army. In 62 and 63, I was in Vietnam installing communication.
Wow. So, I mean, how do you feel about then how the United States is engaging with this conflict now? And then what are your thoughts on that? I'd love to hear.
Right now, I think the United States is being sold. I don't like it. I don't like it. The only I love you, the United States. It's safest place that I ever was. And I'm looking at when father and son are selling United States for gasoline or filling up the bank accounts. Scares the hell out of me.
Yeah. Wow. No, I mean that's I really appreciate you calling in and kind of sharing that with us from your perspective, from your experience. That means a lot that you called into the show. And so thank you for sharing it. Thank you for your service. And I'm glad you're here. So I'd say about that.
Yep. No, thank you. Well, hey, thank you for clearing up on some of the in things for the people out here, and they got to realize it.
Yeah. No, it's no, I want to we want to keep talking about this on this show, right? Like what's going on over there and how the U.S. is interacting with and even exacerbating the situation there, and then what people can actually do about this. So again, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate you joining the show today, and yeah, again, thank you. All right, so I know threw off my train of thought again. I can't imagine having to live through that some of that stuff to see all that and then to watch history repeat itself in some ways. But so we know we're able to look at history, and a lot of the folks over there are able to look at the history of what happened and say, nope, not this time. So speaking of which, some of the solutions that we could use to deal with this is I kind of started talking about the crypto stuff. That's one part of it. The other part of it too is just if folks want to move over here, folks want to get to the United States, they're like, well, the best thing for me to do is to take my talent over here, let people in, and I see like the flights getting shut down from Russia. And, I think like the Biden administration has approved like some like 50 visas from Ukraine. Let people in. Like some folks are going to stay and fight. They're going to do their thing. That's not the thing that everyone could do. Some folks are going to be better off like contributing their intelligence, their skills, or if they're too young, too old, whatever, better off coming over here. Ukrainian refugees want to come over here, great. And I know not everyone's great. Russian refugees, they want to come over here too. Cool, great. Brain drain the Russian economy. Like the smartest, talented, most ambitious people want to find a way to make it over to the United States and start, again, living their lives or helping us, whatever. That's their choice. I don't think that we should restrict that sort of travel. I don't think we should restrict that stuff. As many people as they want can come over here. Just go through the often arduous and complicated process, but still, that's one solution to this. All those anti-war protesters at some point in time in Russia, they're going to be like, oh, I've been arrested a few times. They're facing years in jail. If they can get out, yeah, let them come here. There's people that don't like the Russian government. They want to bring their skill sets over here. Great, let's let them. That's one of these solutions here. So another one is, all right, well, how do we create internet services and protect the free flow of information across borders, particularly when you have governments like the government of Russia, banning things like Facebook and Twitter, because people were seeing like the official news services over there, like, oh, it's just a special operation. There's no war going on. There's no civilian casualties, all that stuff. Okay, but like you go on social media and see that stuff. Well, so was an authoritarian government too? Well, they shut that down. They prevent you from seeing that stuff. TikTok has complied with that. Several news stations shut down, CNN, BBC, etc. All right, the other solution, people like Elon Musk bringing in Starlink and Tor browsers, encrypted internet searching, being able to get around those government restrictions and be able to see what's the truth, what's the real news. Now, I didn't get to talk about this as much as I intended to, unfortunately, and dive deep into some of these solutions because we got that great phone call earlier today. Again, thanks for all the calls today, folks. But I do want to say that there are ways that we can do this, ways that we can continue to communicate and build relationships with the type of people who want to be free, who want a better world, even in places like Russia. So thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. I'll be back later in the week. Make sure you tune in for Larry Sharp tomorrow. Have a great day.
Now is the time to make